Hello, everyone. Mark Van Buren here, your mental fitness trainer. Just checking in with you this week. And I was really trying to think of, what's helped me a lot in my life. And, um, I figured that today I'd kind of share these three commitments with you. And actually, right at the beginning of this year, I wrote an article on these three commitments, and I'll try to include that with the video so that you can read it. Um, but basically, I feel like at one point, maybe, in our lives, being an awakened person or a spiritual person was a choice. But as time goes on and we see how things are going in the world, I kind of feel like it's really our responsibility at this point. Like, I feel like we're really doing a disservice to humanity by just continuously doing the same things that we've done for, hundreds of thousands of years, mainly, following, these mind states that are unwholesome or unskillful, or just kind of getting lost in our instinctual reactivity, rather than, maybe some of the more wholesome spiritual qualities. So basically, I kind of have these three commitments that I personally try to practice every day, that I take continuously every day. And, you know, meditation is so much more than just sitting on a cushion. We're not trying to get good at sitting still. We're not trying to get good at just, sitting down and not moving. It's really, that's the training for our life, and as I've said in meditation classes and yoga classes that I've taught, you know, your true practice begins when you are done meditating, when you're done practicing yoga. How are you meeting the rest of your life? Can I meet this moment to bring the most benefit? Can I meet this moment to bring the least amount of suffering and harm into the world? Right? So if you want to see how advanced you are, look at how you're living the rest of your life. Great, you can do handstands and splits. Great, you can sit for an hour and be peaceful. But what about your relationships? What about your, interaction with coworkers and family, and how do you talk to yourself? I mean, this is all part of our practice. So I think it's so important to really understand this point. And I think that these three commitments are just kind of a simple way to have a practice in daily life. So yes, you have to do the sitting every day. It's really important. You need to cultivate that ability to pay attention, to not get caught in reactivity and thoughts. So it's very important. But then, practice is always, how am I meeting this moment now? And this moment now is not always sitting on a cushion. It's not always practicing on a yoga mat. So how am I meeting this, right? So here are the three commitments, and I encourage you to take them, once a day, and even multiple times a day, because they're really hard to forget. um, so the first commitment is vowing, and to the best of your ability, right, with the knowledge and wisdom you have in this moment. We're not trying to use this stuff to, as ammunition to berate ourselves and put ourselves down, but it's just planting that potential, right? So the first vow is, um, how do I, how, how do I meet this moment, right, to bring the least amount of harm? That's basically what it's saying. I vow to not bring any harm or suffering into the world through my mouth, right, through speech, through my actions. And, I also commit to not getting caught in these unskillful or unwholesome states of mind. So, what I choose to dwell in my own mind. So, can I practice nonviolence, non harming, in body, speech, and mind? That's the first commitment. And, it sounds really easy, right? But as you go through your day, you'll see, there might be a little aggressive speech, or a little action that's trying to run away from something, or maybe you're just caught in self judgment. So it's actually a pretty difficult thing to practice, and this stuff's not easy. But it's definitely something to commit to for the rest of your life, right? And that sounds like, oh my God, the rest of my life. But again, it comes down to this moment, right? Right now in this moment, am I causing suffering? Right? If so, and I recognize that, can I try something else? Can I speak a little more kindly? Can I act a little differently? Can I choose to put down the unskillful thought? Right? So this is how that practice is. This moment. We have to just remember that. We have a lot of crazy stuff that we have to work on, sure, but what's present now? Right? What do I need to work on in this moment? And am I doing it in a compassionate, kind way? Right? So that's the first commitment, is what you say, what you do, and what you decide to dwell in your mind, what you decide to allow to grow in your mind. Um, then the second commitment kind of shifts to the outside, and it says, okay, I vow to the best of my ability to ease suffering in the world. And right now, we're isolated, we're quarantined. How do we do that? I've had a couple of different instances. One is just calling maybe an elderly person that is living alone, so I can reach out to people that I know are by themselves and maybe feeling a little lonely or depressed, and I can brighten their day, or, at least make them laugh, or let them know I'm thinking about them. At the grocery store, there was a woman who was in one of those really cool drive around carts. But she was unable to move all of these Gatorade, drinks that she bought that were in a box. So I offered. I said, listen, I know these are weird times. I got my gloves and my mask. I'd be happy to move this for you if you're comfortable. And she said, oh, that'd be great, because I can't get it. So just a simple thing like that is easing suffering. You don't have to be a doctor or a nurse. If you are, that's great and fantastic. And of course, we appreciate everything that you're doing right now. But you don't have to save people's lives to ease suffering. It could just be a phone call. You could write a letter. You could, my son was doing cards for the elderly, people in nursing homes. We just made cards, thinking of you, things like that. There's things that you can do to ease suffering in those around you. So that's the second commitment. So first is like, all right, I'm not going to cause harm. I know what's going on in the world. I watch the news and I see all of this greed and aversion and impatience and intolerance and arguing and all this stuff. I don't want to add that anymore. I don't want to be a part of that stress and tension in the world. And that's where we have that little bit of freedom, right? I can choose not to do that. We still have those tendencies. We're human beings. We have the tendency for greed, for hatred, for aversion, for impatience, for frustration, for jealousy, for all of these things. But we don't have to follow them. That's what freedom's all about. That's what awakening's all about, is not limiting ourselves to these things, right? And then, once you're kind of free of all that me reactivity, then you can look around and say, wow, everybody else is suffering too. What can I do to help? Right? So how can I not add to it, but also how can I help? Right? That's the second part. Now the third commitment is how do I open to life as it is? So I vow to the best of my ability to continuously open up to my life just the way it is. So to not resist, to not fight reality, but try to learn to work with it in a non-harming way, to create the least amount of suffering and to be of most benefit. And those two questions you can kind of ask. How do I meet this moment to be of most, benefit? And how do I meet this moment to bring the least amount of suffering? Maybe you're angry. You're home with everybody and you're getting frustrated and you realize this. How do I meet this moment to bring the least amount of suffering, right? And then you just see what happens. You plant that possibility and see what happens. But the third commitment is just learning to soften, learning to, let go of that contraction around life, especially when it's not the way you want it. Like right now, with quarantining and wearing masks and gloves and social distancing. I mean, there's a lot of stress and anxiety that comes along with that. But the the unnecessary stress and anxiety is it shouldn't be like this. I don't want this, right? It is like this, and whether we want it or not, it's going to be like this. So how can we open to it? How can we soften? And that's what meditation is really about. And that third commitment is what we're going to just try to do today. The other ones, you can practice in your daily life. You can practice this one too, but meditation practice is really, how can I open to this, right? So I just want you to bring your hands to your knees or resting in your lap. Sit up tall, close the eyes. And first show up, right? We can't open to life if we don't know what it is. What is our life in this moment? So see what the body feels like. Are you tense? Are you relaxed? Does your body feel exhausted or rested? Does the body feel comfortable or achy and in pain? Is it healthy or sick? Notice the breathing. Is it short, shallow, or is it deep and relaxed? Notice the mind state that's present. Are you agitated or are you at ease? Are you worried or are you peaceful? Are you confused? Right, just open up. Just see it clearly, as if you were a mirror, reflecting what's being presented. Allow your body to soften. Allow your breathing to deepen. And just simply open to things as they are. There is no right way. It doesn't have to feel good. But just with a spacious mind and a kind heart, meeting this moment fully. Even if there is some form of suffering or uneasiness, not contracting around it. Okay, just uncomfortable for now. We don't need to hate it. We don't need to wish that it was some other way. Just this moment. It's like this for now. I can relax into this, no matter what it is. So all together, let's just take one deep breath in the nose, out the mouth. When you're ready, gently opening the eyes. So it doesn't take long to just let go and be at ease. And you'll find that you're more at ease when you're just open to life as it is. So practice pausing. I keep saying it, but practice pausing, especially when there's contraction in your body or in your mind. Just pause, investigate, let it be there, and practice those other two commitments as well, right? So not causing harm, trying to ease the suffering of others, and practicing opening up to life just the way it is. All right? Have a good week, everybody.